Sure. So again, thanks everyone for joining today, and I hope DrupalCon is going great for everyone. So thanks again for having us. And so I would like to give some idea about why, first of all, like why we came about this topic, and what is this thing about contribution. So basically, sometimes like Dries wrote about the makers versus taker in the open source community, and lately Murray Woodman from Morph, he also talked about makers takers and altruism. So the thing is that to having a kind of sustainable open source ecosystem, it is it is mandatory, or it is kind of necessary to have agencies who contribute to Drupal. So even at QED42, we put much emphasis on contributing back to Drupal, giving back to community, and learning and sharing things. So the thing is that during our quest and journey to making contributions work for us, we came across like multiple issues, and we came across we even found multiple approaches that work for us. So today, mainly we'll be seeing about the problem that we faced while figuring out the right approach, and how we actually how we figured out the solution for those. So that's the kind of the gist of session. So moving on to the next one, Piyush.
Sure. I'll quickly go ahead and introduce myself. Hi guys, this is Piyush. I work as a practice lead for Drupal practices with QED42. Mohit, over to you.
Hi, I'm Mohit, and I'm a Drupal technical architect at QED42. So
Yeah,
next
I
one.
think this session is just for 20 minutes, guys. We'll try to keep it short and precise. For any questions towards the end, you can put your questions in the Q&A channel here. And if time allows, we will take it up here, or we'll be heading up to the QED42 booth, and we can take up the conversations there.
Cool. So first, I would like to describe a few problems that we came across. Like obviously, there are like hundreds, thousands of problems that people usually face, but these are a few problems we regularly face, or like most of the audience that they generally face it. So first is kind of lack of interest or lack of motivation. So the thing is that sometimes people are busy with time or busy with project, so they don't get enough motivation, or to like, lack of interest, so that they don't work on contributions. Another one is like sporadic contributions. So something, let's say if some developer is working on contribution, got pulled in for other projects. So the thing is that that contribution, it won't have a like path forward until he comes back, or someone comes and works on it. So this was kind of another issue that we faced upon. Another one was trouble in figuring out relevant issues. So sometimes what happens actually, people are kind of with like mixed backgrounds, like QA engineer, backend developer, front end developers, right? So they don't have like enough kind of knowledge to figure out the right issues that they can work upon, right? So obviously issues are tagged, and we have all sort of mechanism, but depending on their knowledge and their context, I mean, it's really helpful to have like relevant issues actually. So that was kind of another issue that we faced. And the last one also, we kind of we run lots of internship program to have a kind of sustainable talent pipeline. So we came across like multiple first time contributors. So another thing was they sometimes feels hesitated to work on issues, and they just don't know like where to start, how to do things. So these are the a few issues that we came across, and we'll see like how we actually came across all those issues one by one. So Piyush,
Sure.
over to you.
Thanks, Mohit. I think most of the problems that we've seen so far leads to a root cause where people felt either demotivated, or they didn't feel very they didn't actually see where they're contributing back to, what is the impact of the contributions that they're making, right? And to overcome this, I think we came up with initiative driven contributions, wherein when people can actually see the vision of what this initiative is focused upon, right? And they're working towards a meaningful goal, right? As a couple of steps that we took around this initiative driven contribution was, we identified a few initiatives based on what what would make Drupal as a product better for the entire community, right? Sorry, I think I skipped a slide. Oops, sorry for the glitch, guys. Just a second. Yeah. So identifying the right initiatives was the very first step based on what would make Drupal as a better product overall. The second step was making people more familiar with what's going on in this initiative. What is this initiative focused upon? What's the end goal of this initiative, right? Having an idea about this made people think more like they're working towards a product which is going to have a meaningful impact, right? This also helped us in spending very little time on picking up the right issues that needs to be worked upon or that needs the attention of open source community, right? Um, when this so we saw a lot of traction building up by taking up these few approach, and that also led us to sponsor contribution time for different initiatives. So today we have some time dedicated to different initiatives, which is more about which is more sponsored by the organization itself, right? And since there are people who are familiar with what's going on in these initiatives, who understand where this initiative is targeted towards, right? It becomes much more easier for onboarding new folks or first-time contributors to these initiatives, right? Moving into the next one. Yeah, this is another important aspect which we realized over time, that the skills need to match the kind of contribution that you're making. A lot of people felt that documentation is not a contribution that they're making, but with right guidance and with right kind of sessions, we made them understand that every contribution is a contribution, and uh, there are multiple areas where you can contribute. Just writing patches is not a contribution, right? um, what this helped is aligning the right skills with the right kind of contributions. For example, QA community was not very much involved into contributions, but when we started doing initiative level contributions, we made them aware about the initiatives, and they were able to go ahead and test out certain patches with the right kind of knowledge about that initiative, right? This also solves another problem which we have seen, wherein people work on an issue, put a patch, and this is one of the problems which we were facing initially with a lot of folks working on an issue, creating a patch, and then there's no update on that patch on that issue ever after. I mean, they're not looking at the same issue again, or maybe they're allocated on a project, they don't have bandwidth, right? And a new person who wants to start needs to be ramped up or needs to go through the entire set of comments to understand what this issue is all about, right? uh, this also reduce the chances of that, along with introduction of a few processes and tools which we will talk about in later slides. um, I think we have worked based on, again, our past experiences working with different initiatives like Umomi, which was a distribution made into Drupal core. Similarly, CKEditor 5, decoupled menus, easy out of the box, bug smash. These are a few initiatives which we have been working closely into. And what we see is the approach that we've taken has been fostering more contributions at QED42. Uh, it helps developers, again, as I mentioned, see a future goal of where they're going, right? And helps them work towards a very dedicated goal. Mohit, I'll let you take the next section.
Sure. Yeah. So next, like another important aspect is around the ownership. So the thing is that like when we have someone who's taking care of initiative internally, and keeping everyone updated about the team. So let's say we kind of come up with some sort of internal initiative lead kind of thing, where a person who is responsible for one initiative, he kind of goes to the meeting, gets all the updates around the initiative, what's happening, and shares it with team. So this kind of person, we call it like kind of initiative lead, is responsible for sharing things around progress, even onboarding new folks for that initiative. Let's say if, someone is kind of failing to work on certain initiative, being a person like go-to person who is like all the context around it. So it's kind of easy to onboard new people. Like let's say if someone is rolled up from project, right? Project is over and wants to spend some time on contribution, that you can go to that person and like immediately get the context of like what's happening. So that's the kind of another thing around having ownership. Besides we have like another thing, like the person is kind of usually responsible for sharing the bits on bi-weekly Drupal meets. So next one, Piyush. So here is kind of another screenshot. So basically, what we do at QET42 is like we have bi-weekly meeting around this Drupal NJ service area. So where we usually, we kind of had added another kind of section around initiative updates, where all the initiative is coming from each initiative. They share about like what's going on in that particular initiative, any progress. Even if someone doesn't want to contribute, it's good for them to know about like what's happening in Drupal community, the progress of it, and where we are heading. So it's kind of really useful, and we actually found it quite intuitive to like thing is that people are quite familiar with the entire development of Drupal core, where it is heading, what are we working on. So this is the kind of this was like really interesting that we kind of came across this, and it was like really useful. And people are enough curious, and they after the call they come back to the initiative lead and ask certain questions and be a part of it. So this was something that actually really worked for us very well. So yeah, next one, Piyush. Another one was kind of clubbing everything together. So the thing is that like when people are working on their own, I mean, it's like the outcome is not like properly visible. So we thought of okay, leveraging Slack for that. We built a kind of workflow, so that puts kind of standard Scrum kind of updates. And people who are working on open source initiative, they usually drop a message over there. They share like what they're working today, any plan for tomorrow, any blockers or anything. So it kind of it was useful in multiple aspects. First, like everyone came together on the same page, like people from various backgrounds, like being a front end developer, back end developer, QA person. So once everyone are on the same page, they can interact with each other, and like they are easily able to get help or unblock anyone actually with like issues, trying to replace issues. So this kind of setup actually helped to get like more out of it. Besides, we can easily like who are working on it. So if we want to say okay, there is an issue and this needs some front end work, or this needs some manual testing, you can test it. So that way, I mean, the communication was easy, and things was like we are running kind of another project. So that kind of really helped, and even we can easily onboard new people. So that was like really helpful, and I mean, yeah, it is kind of really working very well even today. So this is
Right.
something, yeah, we experimented. Yeah,
Yep, I
Piyush.
think the help links in
Yeah.
the async internal meetings catch up has been super helpful. I think people who are who want to start contributing started coming out and say that I would like to pick up my first issue to work upon, right, where I can actually make an impact, right. So yeah, I think these async catch-ups were super helpful, I would say, in terms of bringing people out and talking about that. Yeah, I'm interested in doing this. right? At the same time, transitioning people from our Slack to Drupal Slack channel has been much simpler with this, because wherein people see a barrier to communication usually, where they're more comfortable talking to internal folks first and then being able to raise a question in the Drupal Slack, right? And we have been, I would say, we've been able to bridge that barrier up to a great extent uh, with these approaches, I would say. And then towards the end, I think there's a tool, there's certain tools and processes that we use which helps which again makes it easier for people to get onboarded. For example, if I'm a first time contributor, right? I have no idea. I've just started using Drupal. I have no idea if I can even give back to Drupal. If I can, where should I start from, right? And for example, if I'm working on a patch role, how do I go ahead with it? What are certain standards that I should follow, etc. Right. So what we did is we built an internal tool wherein people, which has nothing but just a collation of data from different Drupal.org resources, right? And people can find the right help on the tool. At the same time, if someone is working on an issue, right, uh, that the issue gets pulled on this portal as a card, right, which makes it much easier for someone else to come back and pick it up right from there. If let's say Mohit is working on an issue and tomorrow he doesn't have bandwidth, right? There's someone else who can come and take a look at the issue, understand the history, Mohit, speak with Mohit maybe, right, and get started on it much easily. So this is another tool that has been helping us, I would say. Yeah, I think that's pretty much that we wanted to share, guys. Thank you so much for patiently listening. If there are any questions, we can take it up here. We still have 2-3 minutes. Um, So, Laurie, I think we have considered this in the past, but this is very, I mean, the tool has been built very specifically to QED42 folks, right? And it requires a certain amount of effort and onboarding. But yeah, we definitely want to open it out
Correct.
to general public. We saw that Contrib Kanban was there, which was doing similar kind of stuffs, right? And yeah, to answer your question, yes, I think we consider opening it to everyone and being able to track things that they're doing.
Yep. Yeah, we can definitely consider that. Yeah.
Yep. There's another one from Xavier. How do you support contribution in your company? Do you have a budget to invest in developers and get time to contribute? Yes, I think Xavier. So this is this question. I mean, this question has two parts. I would say one wherein what does a company benefit from open source contributions? Number one, right? And and what kind of budget a company can allocate towards open source contributions, right? So what we are doing today is we have sponsored contribution time for different initiatives, I would say, right? And of course, the organization leader, the pain, he understands the value this the contribution is bringing into QD42. Does that answer the question, Xavier? I hope it does. How do you decide which things to make open source and which just stay inside company? Alexei, that's a really nice question, and I think there was an open source chat between WebChick and a couple of other open source contributors as well, where we had a similar question, right? So yeah, I think while working on projects, so when we're working on projects, what we aim at is keeping things more generic, right?
Yep.
And if something is generic enough to be contributed back, so for example, last month we were working on a project where we were integrating Akamai caching with Drupal and trying to build and trying to go ahead with no cache rebuild deployments, right? We built a couple of purgers which are specific to which were specific to the project, but at the same time could reuse things on at a contrib level. So whatever we feel generic, we try to contribute back, and things that are not generic, it stays inside the company. I hope I
Yeah,
got
but
the question right.
we surely try to make it generic so that we can give it back to the community. Uh,
Sure, Laurie. I think
Yep.
yeah, that definitely will help.
Yeah, definitely we can put it on GitHub. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a simple enough
I
tool.
think
We
when we
just
were, I think we're over time, but yeah, when we were starting contributions with Drupal India Association (DIA), that's when we also considered moving using this tool. But apparently, then there was no bandwidth with people to make it open source and move the non-specific parts. So yeah, we would definitely consider opening it up. All right. I think if there are more questions, guys, we can take it up at QED42 booth in the expo hall. Uh, Thank you so much for patiently listening and have a great DrupalCon.
yep. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.